My name is Rob Dixon. I'm the Artistic Director of the Red Company. Obviously, this is Jupitus, who is going to be working with us on Boff Whalley's new play, Big Society, a musical comedy, which will open in January 2012 at City Varieties and run for 2.5–3 weeks. It's a huge cast. I've not talked about the 300 extras. How we're going to get them on the stage at City Varieties, I don't know. As you can see, I'm making this up as I go along. Quick introduction to, I'm not going to give you a history of Red Ladder. If you don't know about Red Ladder, shame on you. Big Society, a phrase that's now 1 year old. Oh, boo! Very well, this side but this play will be set in 1912. So we're calling it Big Society, and it's 100 years old. So I'm going to throw open a question. And if it's alright, Phill, I'm going to direct it at Boff first. Boff, can you explain a little bit about why we're setting a play in 1912 in a musical, apart from the fact that we're booked into City Varieties, which is the most beautiful musical surviving in the UK?
The reason this came about is because this is a sort of like third or fourth in a series of me working with Boff, which came about because we did a bit of work on a thing called Armland, a musical, which was in part of West Leeds Festival like 4 years ago or something.
Yeah.
And it was very quickly done and quickly brought together, and we did it at the festival, and it was a play that was sort of designed to have some kind of audience involvement, but not a lot. We realised that whilst we were doing it outdoors, outside the Army Mills, that all these local people that came along, it wasn't a sort of theatre-going audience, all these people that came along, they wanted to be involved, and they were shouting stuff out. You know, these lovely old dears and these young kids, you know, they want to shout, he's behind you. So we went to the pub afterwards, we had this big conversation about it that night, where I was saying, somebody should write stuff that's for adults to go and have a really good time and get involved. And like when Rob's talking about 300 extras in the show, that's sort of what we're aiming at, is that get the audience feeling like they're part of it. And if they want to shout something out, they can do. And if the actors suddenly decide they want to get off the stage and get somebody involved, they can do. Thinking about musical, it came up because it did seem as if, you know, with the change of government and everything, it did seem as if we were suddenly being thrown back into a time when it was really obvious what the power switch was. It was really obvious that the public school boys were back in charge. And you look back and you think that Edwardian time, you know, when you see pictures of Cameron and Boris Johnson, you know, in their sort of tales at college, that photograph could come from 1912. And so we thought, let's go back to 1912, Leeds City Varieties, fantastic place. Let's recreate this, what musical really was, which was riotous, radical, interesting, good fun, great night out for people that possibly didn't afford to, or didn't go to highbrow theatre, didn't go to watch the opera. They went somewhere because it was cheap and they could drink and they could smoke, which was a big deal at the time. And we thought, let's get all that element of a really good night out that involves the audience and put it and make it talk about what's happening now.
I phoned Rob because Ken Campbell's dead, and that's pretty much it, really. There's no one doing this. Everything he says about the sort of about Red Ladder's cheekiness and the sort of going against the grain nature of something like this is what appealed to me. You factor in Chumbawamba, because I like these soft southern puffs who says Chumbawamba, because it's actually in your mouth a nicer word to say than Chumbawamba, which has a sudden swerve towards the end. It does actually stick rather in your throat. Chumbawamba, it's try saying Chumbawamba, where Chumbawamba is nice. It sounds like the noise someone might make whilst orally pleasuring you. Basically, if you factor in City Varieties, which is a venue I've played 3 times on stand-up tours over 10 years ago, because I stopped doing stand-up because the BBC offered me a job. Big mistake. Anyway, so I'm trying to claw my way back into doing more interesting things. And I started with the West End musical, then I moved down to a kind of touring production of a revival of a West End musical, and now I'm working with Red Ladder. So basically, I hope to be running my own low-rent left-wing drum group in about 2 years. I'm thinking of calling them Angry on Thames. There's too many good ingredients in this project for me not to have phone roll up and say I'm interested. Also, I mean, I don't know if anyone here can bear me out, but it's Chumbawamba have approached me before about doing stuff with them. I've just never been free to do it once or twice. I'm fairly sure over the last 10 years, unless it was another band pretending to be Chumbawamba.
Would you say in your career that you have fun? Do you enjoy your job?
I'd like to thank you for using the word career. What I describe in my life is as a spiritual and cultural lottery win. I have drifted from time-consuming occupation to time-consuming occupation over the last 20 years after being a civil servant for 5 years. None of it planned. So this is just another. It's the way that I'm run, and again, it's not a career. It's basically, if I can't think of enough reason not to do something, I'll probably give it a go. And if I've got the time, I'll definitely give it a go. And as I say, with this, it's about the different factors that have come to play, which is city varieties, Chumbawamba, Red Ladder, just, reminding myself of why I used to get up in the morning, which was come and see things like that. I used to go to Theatre Royal Stratford East, go and see, see plays by Barry. Come on. Barry Keith, yes. Like Mad World by Masters and things like that. I remember the last play of his I went to see was about a rent strike in Poplar. And there used to be plays like that on all the time. All the time. And now you have to, it takes an effort to go and find stuff like that. And we are now slowly and inexorably moving back to a time when, without being challenged, our political leaders can kind of just infer through the subtext of what they're saying is that trade unions are a bad thing. And it's not challenged by anybody. Trade unions are, because we're talking about them in this sneery way, they're corrupt and it's all about power, rather than them being a force for protecting the rights of the membership. It's the fact that, and I'm 49 and I don't know when I'll ever get a chance to work with an organisation like Red Ladder again. I'm just terribly aware of my own mortality at the moment. So that's another reason I took the gig, because I don't know when I'd ever get offered anything like this again, rather than being offered the chance to dress up as a woman for an anti-racist musical set in Baltimore in 1963. And then after that, playing a king. Oh, the empathy. A lot of empathy when I played a king. I loved that. Anyway, so there we go. No, I just realised I didn't answer your question. I never will. I'm very, very vain. You talked about me walking out. These two are going to walk out. They are going to be phoning Alan Carr within the hour.
It's a show that I think people will come away and go, is that 1912 or is that 2012? Because that's so today. That is so today what they're saying. But a bit like Rocky Horror Show, where people dress up in suspenders and all this stuff, I quite like people to dress up in Edwardian costume, because that's the thing I used to love about the good old days, was the audience and the silly hats and stuff they were wearing. People do like to dress up, so it's got that potential to it.
Let's have some food.
Have some food. Thank you very much for coming. Nice to see you all.